Hari Om. We are ready to begin. So, sprinkle water all around you. Om apavitraha pavitro va sarvavastham gatopi va yah smaret pundarikaksham sabhahyabhyantaraha suchi. Sip water 3 times. Om Keshavaya Namaha. Om Narayanaya Namaha. Om Madhavaya Namaha. Om Rishikeshaya Namaha. Om Govindaya Namaha. Om Madhusudanaya Namaha. Put on your kusri and apply a chandan tika to your forehead using your thumb. Om Chandanam Vandate Nityam Pavitram Papanasanam Apadam Harite Nityam Lakshmir Vasatu Sarvada. Om Deepaya Namaha. Light your chirag. Om Bhodipa Pam Brahma Rupa Andhakara Nivaraka Imam Yaktam Pujam Grihastejo Pravardhaya. Om Deepaya Namaha. Okay, we begin with the Ved mantras. Om Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Dhyan Moolam Gurur Murti, Puja Moolam Guru Padam, Mantra Moolam Gurur Vakyam, Moksha Moolam Guru Kripa. Om Swastina Indro Vidashavaha, Swastina Pusha Vishwavedaha, Swastina Star Shur Arishtanemi, Swastino Brihaskatir Dadhatu. Om Payah Prithivyam Payah Oshadhishu Payo Divyantarikshe Payodhaha Payaswati Pradishaha Santu Mahyam. Om Vishnu Arakamasi Vishnu Shnaptesto Vishnu Surasi Vishnu Dhruvasi Vaishnavamasi Vishnavetva. Om Agnir Devata Vato Devata Suryo Devata Chandrama Devata Vasavo Devata Rudra Devata Ditya Devata Maruto Devata Vishwe Deva Devata Brihaspatir Devatendro Devata Varuno Devata. Om Dyoh Shantir Antariksha Gum Shanti Prithivi Shantir Apah Shantir Oshadhayah Shanti Vanaspatayah Shantir Vishvedevah Shantir Brahma Shanti Sarvagum Shanti Shantireva Shanti Sama Shantiredi. Om Vishwani Deva Savitar Duritani Parasuva Yat Bhadram Tanna Asuva. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. ओम आनो भद्रः क्रतवो यन्तु विश्वतो दब्धासो अपरितासोद्भिदः देवानो यथा सदमिद्वृधे असन्न प्रायुः रक्षितारो दिवे दिवे ओम देवानां भद्र सुमतिर्यजूयतां देवानागुं रातिरभिनो निवर्तताम् देवानागुं सख्यम् उपसेदिमा वयं देवान् आयुः प्रतिरन्तु जीवसे ओम तान् पूर्वया निविदाहुमहे वयं भगं मित्रम् अदितिं दक्षमश्रिधम् अर्यमनं वरुणगुं सोममश्विना सरस्वती नः सुभगामयस्करत् ओम तन्नो वातो मयो भुवातु भेषजं तन्माता पृथिवी तत्पिताद्योः तद्ग्रावाणः सोमसुतो मयो भुवस्तदश्विना शृणुतन्धिष्ण्यायुवम् ॐ तमीशानं जगतस्तस्तुषस्पतिं धियन् जिन्वमवसे हूमहे वयं पूषानो यथा वेद साम सद्भृदे रक्षिता पायुर्तब्धः स्वस्तये ओम स्वस्ति न इंद्रो वृदश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्योररिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ओम पृषदश्वा मरुतः पृश्निमातरः शुभं यावानो विदथेषु जग्मयः अग्निजिह्वा मनवः सूरचक्षसो विश्वेनो देवा अवसागमन्निः ओम भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देव भद्रं पश्येम अक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्ट्वा वंशस्तनुभिर्व्यशेमहि देवहितं यदायुः ओम शतमिन्नु शरदो अन्ति देवा यत्रानश्चक्राजरसन्तनूनां पुत्रासो यत्र पितरो भवन्ति मानो मद्यारीरिषतार्युर्गन्तोः ओम अदितिर्द्योरदितिर् अंतरिक्षम अदितिर्माता स पिता स पुत्रः विश्वे देवा अदितिः पंचजना अदितिर्जातम् अदितिर्जनित्वम् ओम ऋचं वाचं प्रपद्ये मनो यजुः प्रपद्ये साम प्राणं प्रपद्ये चक्षुश्रोत्रं प्रपद्ये वागोजः सहोजो मयि प्राणपानौ ओम तं पत्नीभिरनुगच्छेम देवः पुत्रैर्भ्रातृभिरुत वा हिरण्यः नाकं गृभनानः सुकृतस्य लोके तृतीये पृष्ठे अधिरोचने दिवः ओम आयुष्यं वर्चस्य गुंराय स्पोषमोद्भिदम् इदगुं हिरण्यं वर्चस्व जैत्राय विशतात्माम् ओम द्योः शान्तिर् अंतरिक्ष गुं शान्तिः पृथिवी शान्तिर् आपः शान्तिर् औषधयः शान्तिः वनस्पतयः शान्तिर् विश्वे देवः शान्तिर् ब्रह्म शान्तिः सर्वगुं शान्तिः शान्तिरेव शान्तिः सामा शान्तिरेधि ओम यतो यतः समीहसे ततो नो अभयं कुरु शन्नः कुरु प्रभ्याभ्यो भयन्नः पशुभ्य ओम शान्तिः शान्तिः सुशान्तिर्भवतु ओम हे हे रम्ब त्वमे हि अंबिका त्र्यंबकात्मजा सिद्धि बुद्धि पते त्र्यक्ष लक्ष्य लाभ पितु पितः नागास्य नागहारत्वं गणराजा चतुर्भुज भूषितः स्वायुधे दिव्यै पाशांकुश परश्वधे आवाहयामि पूजार्थं रक्षार्थं च मम कृतो यहाँ गत्य गृहाण त्वं पूजां क्रतुं च रक्ष मे ओम मनोजवं मारुततुल्यवेगं जितेन्द्रियं बुद्धिमतां वरिष्ठं वातात्मजं वानरयुतमुख्यं श्रीरामदूतं शरणं प्रपद्ये अंजनीगर्भसम्भूतं कपीन्द्रं सच्चिवोक्तमं रामप्रियं नमस्तुभ्यं हनुमान रक्ष सर्वदा ओम ध्यायेद् आजानुबाहुं धृतशरधनुषं बद्धपद्मासनस्थं पीतं वासोवसानं नवकमलदलस्पर्धिनेत्रं प्रसन्नं वामाङ्कारूढ सीतामुखकमलमिललोचनं निर्दाभं नाना अलङ्कारदीप्तं ददत मुरुजट मण्डलं रामचन्द्रम् ओम यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्र रुद्र मरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगः ध्यानावस्थितः तत्कतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो यस्यान्तं न विदुः सुरासुरगण देवाय तस्मै नमः ओम वसुदेव सुतं देव कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम् ओम शान्तं पद्मासनस्थं शशधरमुकुटं पंचवक्त्रं त्रिनेत्रं शूलं वज्रं च खड्गं परशुम् अभयदं दक्षिणांगे वहन्तं नागपाशं च घण्टां डमरुकसहितं अंकुशं वामभागे नाना अलंकार दीप्तं स्फटिकमणिनिभं पार्वतीशं नमामि ओम या कुन्देन्दु तुषारहार धवला या शुभ्र वस्त्रावृता या वीणा वरदंड मंडितकरा या श्वेत पद्मासन या ब्रह्मा अच्युत शंकर प्रभृतिभिः देवै सदा वंदिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निःशेषजाड्यापः ओम लक्ष्मी क्षीर समुद्र राजतनयां श्रीरंगधामेश्वरीं दासी भूत समस्त देव वनितां लोकैक दीपांकुरां श्रीमन्मंद कटाक्ष लब्ध विभव ब्रह्मेन्द्र गंगाधरां तां त्रैलोक्य कुटुंबिनीं सरसिजां वंदे मुकुंद प्रियां ओम सीताराम पवन सुत हनुमान राधे कृष्ण की जय।
जनक जननी पद मधुरज निज मस्तक पर धारी बंदौ मातु सरस्वती बुद्धि बल धारी पूर्ण जगत में व्यापित महिमा अमित अनंत सारे संसार के पाप को मात तू ही अब हंत जय श्री सकल बुद्धि बल राशि जय सर्वज्ञ अमर अविनाशी जय 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 वीणा कर धारी करती सदा सो हंस सवारी रूप चतुर भुज धारी माता सकल विश्व अंदर विज्ञाता जग में पाप बुद्धि जब होती तब ही धर्म की ज्योति तब ही मातु का निज अवतारा पाप हीन करती मई सारा वाल्मीकि जीता हथियारा तव प्रसाद सुध दे सब जाना रामचरित्र जो रचे बनाई आदि कवि पदवी को पाई कालिदास जो भय विज्ञाता तेरी कृपा दृष्टि से माता ऋषि सूर आदि विद्वान भय और जो ज्ञानी नाना तीन और हो अवलंब केवल कृपा आपकी अम्बा करो कृपा सोई मातु भवानी दुखत दीन निज दास जानी कोट करे अपराध बहुता तेहि ना धय चित सुंदर माता लाखों लाज जननी अब मेरी विनय करो भाभी बहु तेरी मधु के तब जो अति बलवाना बहु युद्ध विष्णु से जाना समर हजार पाँच में घोरा फिर भी मुख नहीं मोरा मातु सहाय की है कही काला बुद्धि विपरीत भरी कल हाला तेहि ते मृत्यु भई कल के पूर्व मातु मनोरथ मेरी चंड मुंड जो ते विज्ञाता शन मऊ संग्रह ते ही माता रक्त बीज से समरत पापी सुर मुनि हृदय धरा सब कापी काटे सिर जिम करली कंबा बार बार वीरो जगदम्बा जग प्रसिद्ध जो शुंभ निशुंभ क्षण में मारता ही तो अम्बा भारत मातु बोधि विरु जाए रामचंद्र वनवास पठाई एहि विधि रावण वर दुखीना सुर नर मुनि सबको सुख दीना गोसावंत तव यश गुण गान निगम अनादि अनंत बखाना विष्णु रुद्र अज सके न मारी जिनकी हो तुम रक्षाकारी रक्त गणिका और सतकाशी नाम अपार है नव भाषी दुर्गम काज धरा पर कीना दुर्गा नाम सकल जगलीना दुर्गा आदि हरनी तो माता कृपा करो जब जब सुख दाता लिप को पित को मारण चाही कानन में मृगनाही सागर मध्य कोट के भांजे अति तूफान नहीं कोई संगे भूत प्रेत बारा यह दुख में हो दरिद्र आत्मा संकट में नाम जपे मंगल सब होई संचय इसमें करे न कोई पुत्रहीन जो आतुर भाई और चार पूजे नहीं माई करे पाठ नित्य यहाँ चलीसा होए पुत्र सुंदर गुण ईसा धूप दीप नैवेद्य चढ़ावे संकट रहित आवस हो जाई भक्ति मातु की करे हमेशा निकट न आवे काई कलेशा बंदी पाठ करे सतवारा बंदी पाश दूर हो सारा अपनी जान की है तू भवानी की जय कृपा दास निज जानी की जय कृपा दास निज जानी की जय कृपा दास निज जानी मातु सूर्य कांति तव अंधकार मम रूप भुवन से रक्षा करो पर हो न मैं भवभू
सूंड सुंडाला ढूंढ ढूंढाला मस्तक मोटा कान गणपति देव बड़ा बलवान गणपति सूंड सुंडाला ढूंढ ढूंढाला मस्तक मोटा कान गणपति देव बड़ा बलवान गणपति देव बड़ा बलवान गणपति को प्रथम मनाता, उसका सारा दुख मिट जाता। रिद्धि सिद्धि सुख संपत्ति पाता, भव सागर के पार उतरता। मेरी नैया पार करो मैं देर लगाओ ध्यान। गणपति देव बड़ा बलवान, गणपति देव बड़ा बलवान। सूंड सुनाला ढूंढ ढूंढाला, मस्तक मोटा कान। गणपति देव बड़ा बलवान, गणपति देव बड़ा बलवान। पार्वती के पुत्र है प्यारे, सारे जग के तुम रखवारे। भोलेनाथ है पिता तुम्हारे, सूर्य चंद्रमा मस्तक धारे। मेरे सारा दुख मिट जावे, देवो यही वरदान। गणपति देव बड़ा बलवान, गणपति देव बड़ा बलवान। सूंड सुनाला ढूंढ ढूंढाला, मस्तक मोटा दान। गणपति देव बड़ा बलवान, गणपति देव बड़ा बलवान। अन धन में प्रभु बरकत तुम हो, विद्या में भव तुम ही निपुण हो। प्रथम सभी में तुम ही बड़े हो, नाम गजानन पाए गए हो। दूर करो प्रभु कष्ट हमारे, देव दया के निधान। गणपति देव बड़ा बलवान, गणपति देव बड़ा बलवान। सूंड सुनाला ढूंढ ढूंढाला, मस्तक मोटा दान। गणपति देव बड़ा बलवान, गणपति देव बड़ा बलवान। सूंड सुनाला ढूंढ ढूंढाला, मस्तक मोटा कान। गणपति देव बड़ा बलवान, गणपति देव बड़ा बलवान, गणपति देव बड़ा बलवान। ओम सीताराम सुत हनुमान, राधे कृष्ण की जय।
Hari Om. Jai Shri Krishna. Ashwin Bhai, we are doing verse number 17 today. Of chapter number 3. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Yastvatmaratirevaha Syadatma triptascha manavaha atmanyeva cha santushtas tasya karyam na vidyate. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Jai Shri Krishna. I'm going to start off by highlighting a few of the key words in this verse. So the word Atmar Atihi means to rejoice. Rejoice on what? Although the word Atma is used, it means in this context, Param Atma or the divine. Atma Triptihi means to be gratified with Paramatma, the experience of the divine. And Santushtaha means to become completely content. Manavaha means that man. Na vidyate means no longer exists. Karyam means duty in this context. So if we combine all these words, Bhagavan Sri Krishna is saying to Arjuna that that person who experiences the self. So when you are reciting Bhagavad Gita and looking at explanations, especially the English translation, you will come across the word self with a capital letter S. They will always use a capital letter S. If they are referring to the divine, they are referring to Paramatma. If you see a small letter S, it is more than likely that they are referring to the Atma. So all beings in the universe are Atma manifested into bodies, and our creator is called Param Atma. A good example that is used to describe this is that we are but a tiny spark of the great divine fire. So the Atma is a spark or a part of Param Atma. So Bhagavan says in this verse that this person who starts to enjoy and take delight. So the word delight goes beyond enjoy. So we can enjoy many things, but when we are delighted at something, it means that we become disinterested in everything else. So he starts to delight in this alone. What are we referring to? I will explain that to you shortly. He is gratified by this alone and becomes very, very content, santushta. Such a person has no real obligations in this world. So the word that we came across, karyam, does not only refer to action. It means all kinds of obligations that may inspire us or cause us to act. So Bhagavan is talking here about quite an elevated being. How did he arrive at this point? A person cannot get up one morning and say that I am a very self-realized soul and I can now stop various kinds of activities. Because to attain the state that Bhagavan is talking about, there are processes. There is a protocol. There is a order of things. But he says in this verse, or he insinuates in this verse, that one must first learn how to experience the divine or the self with a capital letter S. In other words, how to experience God. In this verse, the word Atma is used. The Atma cannot experience itself. It experiences Paramatma. Therefore, in this verse and some other verses as well, the word Atma taken in context, therefore means Param Atma or the divine. To experience the divine, there are processes called abhyas, practices, sadhana, penances, that lead you to this state of renunciation, vairagya. These processes introduce mindfulness or awareness of God. So all of us may surely know that God exists. We take his name. We think of him from time to time. But are we constantly aware of his presence? So is our subconscious mind constantly fixed on God, irrespective of what our mind is doing or the body is doing? This mindfulness or awareness is a connection that has to be rekindled between the Atma and Paramatma. This rekindling of the mindfulness or awareness of God is also described as yoga. Once one experiences the self, the Paramatma, the divine, his reconnection with God, he quickly realizes that there is nothing better. Hence, he takes delight in it. He doesn't just experience it, he enjoys experiencing it, keeping this connection live, like we want to stay connected to Wi-Fi with a strong signal. The experience is enjoyed and brings contentment. All other forms of enjoyment bring temporary contentment. A few examples. We may want to eat some tasty food when we are hungry. And when we prepare our favorite dish and we partake of it, and probably partake of it excessively, we may feel satisfied. We may feel happy that we ate something that we really liked. But after some time, that food digests. We feel hungry again, and we may crave for another taste. So the food that we had sustains us and gives us temporary satisfaction. Similarly, I may go out and buy the latest model of a certain type of vehicle. And I may become very, very happy when I first purchased this vehicle. After some time of driving around, I may see another vehicle that looks better and has better features. And what happens? A little seed is planted in my mind that perhaps the next vehicle I buy will be that one. And the one you are driving perhaps does not give you the same kind of satisfaction as when you first bought it. Similarly, all kinds of things that we see and experience have similar quality. They cannot satisfy you permanently, neither will you take delight in it at all times. So the act of trying to satisfy our hunger and our taste buds, today when we eat food, we may take delight in that food. The next time you eat food, you may not enjoy it as much. So there are fluctuations and changings. The constantness is not there. The stability is not there. So because of his past efforts, this person that Bhagwan is talking about is able to keep this connection intact, irrespective of what actions he is performing. Having no wants or needs, such a person is devoid of desire. And only this person becomes free of obligation. This person is self-realized or a Jivan Mukta. Jivan means to be alive, and Mukta means one who is liberated. So even while he is in this body, he has already attained moksha or salvation. So moksha or salvation is not something that occurs upon death. The soul may travel to God after death, but salvation must take place while you are conscious and still in this body. So we should not look at trying to perfect our existence because we die. because we leave the body. This perfection has to take place consciously while the soul is still in the body. Only then will the soul get the highest abode. While we are constantly wishing people, when there are deaths in the family, may the Atma get moksha, may the Atma reach the highest abode, Sat Gati, etc. We need to give thought that it is not triggered by death alone, but it is triggered by the consciousness, the awareness at the time of death. Such a person, however, I must add, is so selfless that even while being free of obligation, still engages in selfless action according to the scriptures for the welfare of all others. So while this person has no obligation, he does not ignore the injunctions of the scriptures and say, well, I don't need to do all of this anymore, etc., etc. Neither does he influence others to stop their good work or their good traditions, etc. He may even continue this work for the welfare of the world and also to set an example for the younger generation, to show them the path so that they may too also reach this elevated state. Becoming obligation-free does not mean stopping action. In doing so, the ego is never allowed to prevail as he is in full control. He who plants a fruit tree, knowing full well that he will never eat its fruits, is a self-realized person, one who understands what his true purpose is. And therefore, even though he may be obligation-free, he acts in the interests of the creation, in the best interests of the creation. Bhagavan Sri Krishna, so this is from the point of Manavaha, you and I, human beings. Let me take you on a little journey from the point of Bhagavan Sri Krishna. He is obligation-free. He is the self that we want to experience, yet he is constantly seeing to the affairs of this world. Even so that he takes the trouble of taking avatar, appearing here in human form, and ensuring that the welfare of the world is seen to. And he simplifies this idea in so many ways. Today, via the Bhagavad Gita and his discourse with Arjuna, we have read about some lofty ideas of being a self-realized soul. Bhagavan shows us this in other ways as well. He comes down to earth and he takes care of the cows. He asks for nothing in return. He seems to be absolutely carefree and he plays his flute. And what happens? Everything around him that can hear this music starts to dance. The birds, the trees, the flowers, the gopis, etc. So a self-realized soul is in tune with the divine song, with the music of the Lord. That is what they are experiencing. So this experience that I have spoken about is like listening to soulful music that puts you almost into a trance-like state while you are still engaged in all various kinds of activities. Jai Shri Krishna.
Jai Shri Ram. We're going to have Ramayana part now. Jai Sumirat Siddhi Hoy Sitaram Gananayak Karivar Badana Karo Anugrah Soy Sitaram Bodhirasi Shubha Guna Sadana Muk Hoy Bachal Sitaram Pangucharahi Girivar Gahana जासु कृपा सुदयाल सीताराम द्रवौ सकल कलिमल दहन नील सरोरुह श्याम सीताराम तरुण अरुण वारिज नयन करो सुमम उरधाम सीताराम सदा क्षीरसागर शयन कुंद इंदु समदेह सीताराम उमारमन करुणायन जाहि दीन परनेह सीताराम करौ कृपामर्दन मयन वंदो गुरुपद कंज सीताराम कृपा सिंधु नर रूप हरि महामोहतम पुंज सीताराम जासु वचन रविकर निकर सियावर रामचंद्र की जय। पवन सुत हनुमान की जय। उमापति महादेव की जय। कथा आरंभ होता है, सुनो वीर हनुमान, आसन को प्रभु आइए, सिया सखा सहित भगवान सियावर रामचंद्र की जय। पवन सुत हनुमान की जय। उमापति महादेव की जय। So our part today is from Balkand, and we starting with Doha 143. द्वादश अक्षर मंत्र पुनि जप ही सहित अनुराग वासुदेव पद पंकरहु रुह दंपति मन अति लाग सियावर रामचंद्र की जय। पवन सुत हनुमान की जय। उमापति महादेव की जय। करई आहार सात फल कंदा सुमिरहि ब्रह्म सच्चिदानंदा पुनि हरि हेतु करन तप लागे बारी आधार मूल फल त्यागे उर अभिलाष निरंतर होई देखी अवन नयन परम प्रभु सोई अगुण अखंड अनंत अनादि जेहि चिंत ही परमारत बादी नेति नेति जेहि वेद निरूपा निजानंद निरूपाधि अनूपा शंभु बिरंचि विष्णु भगवाना उपजहि जासु अंश ते नाना ऐसे उप्रभु सेवक बस अहई भगत हेतु लीला तनु गहई जो यह बचन सत्य श्रुति भाषा तो हमार पूजहि अभिलाषा एहि विधि बीते बरस शत सहस बारी आहार संबत सप्त सहस्र पुनि रहे समीर आधार सियावर रामचंद्र की जय। पवन सुत हनुमान की जय। उमापति महादेव की जय। अच्छा, so this episode that we are reading is in respect of Manu, and we are reading about Manu's Katha. So last week we heard how Manu, having felt that he reached the final stage of his of the ashram system, gave up his throne to his son, and together with his wife they went away to the Nemisharanya, so the Nimish forest, which is a place where many highly evolved munis and rishis spend their lives in pursuance of the Supreme Being. So they engage in tapasya. This is a very lovely forest where devotees engage in tapasya in order to go back to Bhagwan. So Manu, together with his wife, has retired, so to speak, in this Nemish forest. And here, they haven't come for a picnic. He is actually very keen on attaining the Supreme Being, Brahman. And so one of the ways to do that is to repeat the name of Bhagwan. So Dwadasa Achara Mantra Puni Japahi Sahita Anurag. So he was Japahi, he was reciting the Dwadas Achar Mantra. But he wasn't just reciting it. He was doing it Sahita Anurag, with a lot of love, with a lot of devotion. So many of us, we feel that if we are doing our japa, if we are repeating the name of God, then we have achieving a lot, which we might be. But it's very important that when we do japa, we do it in a disciplined way, in a way in which Sri Bhagwan, Sri Krishna has explained to us in chapter 6 of Bhagavad Gita. So repeating the name of God is a disciplined activity. You can't be attending to 5 other things while you are still doing japa and think that you are achieving a lot. So here we are told that he does the Dwadas Achar Mantra Puni repeatedly, but Sahita Anurag, with a lot of devotion, with a lot of love, with great dedication. And what is the Dwadas Akshar Mantra? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So Vasudeva is Bhagwan Sri Vishnu. He is Vasudeva, he is the all-pervading. So this is the Akshara, the 12-lettered formula that they have been reciting. And the purpose here is to attain the Supreme Being, is to attain the Supreme Lord. So Karahi Ahar Saka Palakanda. So what have they been feeding on? What have they been sustaining themselves with? They are sustaining themselves. Ahar means food, with vegetable, saka, phal, fruit, and roots. So this is their daily meals. No dal and rice and khichdi and all those things. Sumirahi Brahma Sachita Ananda. And what are they doing? They are concentrating, meditating upon Sumirahi Brahma. Brahma here is the Supreme Being. Now we must not confuse Brahma with Brahma. Brahma is one of the three devs, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesha. Here Brahma refers to the Supreme Being, who is Satchit Anand. He is eternal bliss. He is absolute truth. So this Brahman on whom they are meditating is Satchidananda. And that is why they are sustaining themselves on vegetable, fruit, and roots. Because in order to dedicate ourselves to God, in order to dedicate ourselves to Satchit Ananda, it is very important that the diet that we are on assists in the meditation process. Obviously, if you eat biryani and have a full meal, you cannot sit and concentrate on Satchidananda. The food that we eat must create the conducive physical conditions for us to concentrate on Brahma. Puni hari hetu karana tap lage bari adhara mula phala tyage. And after a while, they even gave up mula phala tyage. They even gave up eating this roots and fruit. And what did they do? They started surviving on water. So you see, as part of the tapasya, as part of the meditative process, it is important to start to give up attachment to material things. So they brought themselves to this position where they could survive on vegetables, fruit, and roots. And after a while, they wanted to bring themselves where they were not even dependent on that anymore. So they started to give up all those things. And they had this abhilasha, they had this great desire, right, to attain that supreme being. And who is this supreme being? He is Agun, Akhand, Ananta, Anadi. He is without attributes. He is Akhanda. Akhanda means everlasting. He has neither a beginning nor an end. He is Ananta. He is Anadi, without a beginning. Jehi Chintahi Paramartha Badi. And when you concentrate on this, when you meditate upon this, then you get this supreme bliss. This Akhanda, Ananta, Anadi, Brahma, this Sachidananda is Neti Neti. The Vedas describe God as Neti Neti. So if you ask the question, is God this? You say, Na iti, he is not this. Is he that? He is not. Na iti, he is not that. He is not this, he is not that. So if God is not this, and if God is not that, then what is God? God is everything. So the Vedas use these negative terms, neti neti, not this, not that, to describe God as everything. So this Brahma is neti neti, he is everything, he is Nijananda Nirupadi Anupa, he is beyond comparison. But what happens is this Brahma comes as Upajahi Jasu Ansate Nana, Aise Prabhu Sevak Basahi Bhagat Hetu Leela Tanugahi. But this Akhanda, this Agunna, this Ananta, this Anadi, Satchidananda Brahma, Bhagat Hetu, for the benefit of his devotees, Leela Tanugahi. And he then plays these sports, he plays this Leela, Tanugahi, and he takes on a human form to come down onto this earth. So Manu then says, Joya Vachana Satya Shruti Bhasha. If these words, this Bhasha of the Shruti, Shruti refers to the Vedas, if these are words of the Vedas are true, to hamara pujehi abhilasha, then we want to have darshan of this supreme being who comes in the form of a human being, right? Ehi vidhi bite barash shata. So several years, many years pass on. Sahasabari ahar, in which they were surviving on water. Sambat sapta sahasrakuni rahe samir adar, until eventually they survive only on air. So through this continuous, constant practice of first living on fruit and roots and vegetables and then water, they bring themselves to a stage where they can survive only on air. And this is all part of a process to take them closer to that supreme being, that Sachidananda Brahma. अच्छा, यहाँ पर हम आज का पाठ समाप्त करते हैं. कथा विसर्जन होता है, सुनो वीर हनुमान, आसन को प्रभु जाइए, सिया सखा सहित भगवान सियावर रामचंद्र की जय, पवन सुत हनुमान की जय, उमापति महादेव की जय.
जय नारायण जय जय दुर्गे, जय जय अम्बे नमो नमः, जय जय अम्बे नमो नमः. जय नारायण जय जय दुर्गे, जय अम्बे नमो नमः, जय अम्बे नमो नमः. पावन सुमिरन करता, अंतर में सुख भर आता. तेरा पावन सुमिरन करता, अंतर में सुख भर आता. रोम रोम में प्रेम तिहारा, जन्म जन्म के संतापों को तेज से अपर जला दो माँ। जय रुद्राणी जय जय दुर्गे जय जय अम्बे नमो नमः। जय जय अम्बे नमो नमः। मंगलता की देने वाली मनवांछित फल बरसारे। मंगलता
की देने वाले मनवांछित फल बरसाने।
धार तिहारे आ गए मैया मोर ढाल नहीं जाई। जय ब्रह्मानी जय जय दुर्गे जय जय अम्बे नमो नमः। जय जय अम्बे नमो नमः। राम भजन हम निस दिन करते मन में जपते नाम विमल। राम भजन हम निस दिन करते
मन में जपते नाम विमल।
शरण पढ़ा तो एक सहारा मैया तेरे शरण कमल। जय कृष्णानी जय जय दुर्गे जय जय अम्बे नमो नमः। जय अम्बे
नमो नमः।
जय नारायणी जय जय दुर्गे जय जय अम्बे नमो नमः। जय जय अम्बे नमो नमः। ओम सीताराम पवन सुत हनुमान राधे कृष्ण की जय। तेरे शरण आए देखो है अम्बे माता हो माता। तेरे शरण आए देखो है अम्बे माता हो माता। तेरे शरण आए देखो है अम्बे माता। चारों दिशा से भक्ति आशा से भक्तों के भीड़ आए हो माता। तेरे शरण आए देखो है अम्बे माता हो माता। तेरे शरण आए देखो है अम्बे माता। तू जो कहे माँ वो सब सुनेंगे। दिन रात तेरी पूजा करेंगे। सुख हो या दुख हो हम सब सहेंगे। हर हाल तेरी भक्ति करेंगे। भक्तों के पीरा हरने वाली माँ कोटि कोटि है प्रणाम हो माता। तेरे चरण आए देखो है अम्बे माता ओ माता। तेरे शरण आए देखो है अम्बे माता। चारों दिशा से भक्ति आशा से भक्तों के भीड़ आए हो माता। तेरे शरण आए देखो है अम्बे माता, हो माता तेरे शरण आए। देखो है अम्बे माता। तीनों लोकों की तो धानी है माँ, अंतर्यामी है तू ज्ञानी है माँ। सुख दुख कारण करो माँ, सब जन के अर्चन ग्रहण करो माँ। दुनिया के रक्षा करने वाली माँ, रोशन रह तेरा नाम। ओ माता तेरे चरण आए। देखो है अम्बे माता, हो माता तेरे चरण आए। देखो है अम्बे माता। चारों दिशा से भक्ति आशा से भक्तों के भीड़ आए। हो माता तेरे शरण आए। देखो है अम्बे माता, हो माता तेरे शरण आए। देखो है अम्बे माता तेरे शरण आए। देखो है अम्बे माता तेरे शरण आए। देखो है अम्बे माता। ओम सीताराम पवन सुत हनुमान,
राधे
कृष्ण की जय।
जय सरस्वती माता मैया, जय सरस्वती माता। सद्गुण वैभवशालिनी, सद्गुण वैभवशालिनी, त्रिभुवन सुखदाता मैया, जय सरस्वती माता। चंद्रवदनी पद्मासनी, ज्योति मंगलकारी मैया, ज्योति मंगलकारी। सोह शुभ हंस सवारी, सोह शुभ हंस सवारी, अतुल तेज धारी मैया, जय सरस्वती माता। भाई कारणी वीणा ध्याये कर माला मैया, ध्याये कर माला। शेष मुकुट मणि सोहे, शेष मुकुट मणि सोहे, गल मोतियन माला मैया, जय सरस्वती माता। देवी शरण जो आवे, उनका उद्धार किया मैया, उनका उद्धार किया। बैठी मंत्रा दासी, बैठी मंत्रा दासी, रावण संहार किया मैया, जय सरस्वती माता। विद्या ज्ञान प्रदायिनी, ज्ञान प्रकाश भरो मैया, ज्ञान प्रकाश भरो। मोह अज्ञान अवधिमीका, मोह अज्ञान अवधिमीका, जग से नाश करो मैया, जय सरस्वती माता। धूप दीप फल मेवा, माज़ करो मैया, माज़ करो। ज्ञान चक्षु दे माता, ज्ञान चक्षु दे माता, जग निस्तार करो मैया, जय सरस्वती माता। माँ सरस्वती जी की आरती जो कोई जन गावे मैया, जो कोई जन गावे। हितकारी सुखकारी, हितकारी सुखकारी, जन भक्ति पावे मैया, जय सरस्वती माता। जय सरस्वती माता। दाता। ओम जय सरस्वती माता।
कर्पूरगौरं करुणावतारं संसारसारं भुजगेन्द्रहारं सदा वसन्तं हृदयारविन्दे भवं भवानी सहितं नमामि। ॐ मङ्गलं भगवान् विष्णु मङ्गलं गरुडध्वज मङ्गलं पुण्डरीकाक्ष मंगलाय तनोहरि। ओम सर्वमंगलमांगल्ये शिवे सर्वार्थसाधिके शरण्ये त्र्यंबिके गौरी नारायणी नमोस्तुते नारायणी नमोस्तुते नारायणी नमोस्तुते। Sprinkle water around your arti. Om yani kani च पापानि जन्मान्तरकृतानि च तानि तानि विनश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणा पदे पदे। ओम सर्वेषां स्वस्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामया सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। ओम असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय। ओम पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम अपराधः सहस्राणि क्रियन्ते हर्निशं मया दासोऽयम् इति मामत्व क्षमस्व परमेश्वर। ओम आवाहनं न जानामि विसर्जनं पूजां चैव न जानामि क्षमस्व परमेश्वर। अन्यथा शरणं नास्ति त्वमेव शरणं मम तस्मात् कारुण्यभावेन रक्ष त्वां परमेश्वर। बोलिए विघ्नहर्ता गणेश भगवान की जय। श्री राधे कृष्ण भगवान की जय। श्री शिव शंकर भगवान पार्वती माता की जय। श्री सीतारामचंद्र भगवान की जय। श्री लक्ष्मण जी की जय। श्री बजरंगबली महावीर स्वामी की जय। जगजगनी दुर्गा काली लक्ष्मी सरस्वती माता की जय। श्री लक्ष्मी नारायण भगवान की जय। सनातन धर्म की जय। सब पितर देव की जय। ओम नमः पार्वती पतये हर हर महादेव हर। जय जय श्री राधे जय जय श्री राधे जय जय